Welcome to New Writer Podcast, episode 19. I'm your host, Matt Brotherton, author of the Seven Keys Saga and other works of speculative fiction, and this is your weekly update for May 30th, 2015. It's been 6 weeks since my last update, and I apologize for that. I honestly do not have an excuse, other than I wasn't writing. I know that's not really an excuse per se, but I feel like I need to refocus and get back on the horse. And that's what I want to talk to you about today is it is okay to have those breaks as long as you get back in the game. Now, 2015 has been a weird year for me. I had a lot of stuff planned that I wanted to do this year. And based on what I was able to do in 2014, I thought I would be able to hammer it all out. But what actually happened was January hit and my productivity went to nothing. I put out 4 books in 2014, starting in March all the way through. The 4th book came out on the 7th of January. So I thought I'd be able to do at least 4 books so far, do 4 books this year, preferably at the pace I was doing them last year, and do other work also. I did some short stories and things there last year too. But between January and the end of April, I just kept starting and stopping on the same project over and over and over again. Now, that happens sometimes in a writer's life. There are times when you get stuck, you get blocked. And a lot of writers out there will tell you there is no such thing as writer's block, and they are full of crap. Now, recently there was a story bundle package of books for writers, and I picked it up and I've read through most of them now. And one of them that really stuck with me was the difference between writer's block and depression. I suffer from depression. I do. That's part of who I am. That's part of my life. I've been in much worse places than I have been in the last couple of years, but I still go through the cycle. I call it the emo spiral. Here's what happens. Okay, so I start out feeling a little down, and then a trigger event happens, and I will start spinning downward. The longer I spin downward, the worse I get, the harder it is for me to realize exactly what's going on. So I just end up dipping farther and farther and not being able to make headway. When I started work on book 5, it was actually in January. I wrote a lot of words in January. I wrote a lot of words in February. I wrote a lot of words in March, but I got rid of all of them. And then about the middle of May, I got back to work and figured out maybe I didn't have to try so hard. Maybe if I just let words come, I'd get the job done. And I think now I have. I've gotten to a place where I just finished book 5. My draft is with beta readers. I finished it on Wednesday night, and that is such a good feeling, guys. You have no idea how nice it is to be like, I finished another piece of work. So here I am sitting in my office, just recording some thoughts for you guys because I don't want to leave you out. And I think part of the reason I stopped recording after April 18th was I wasn't making any headway, and I didn't want to admit that to the world. But what's the point of doing this if I'm not going to share my actual journey with the world, if I'm not going to actually admit when things are not going well? Otherwise, if the only time we record is when things are going great, it creates this idea that everything is easy for others. And it ain't easy, guys. It's really, really hard. I'm going to talk about sales because it's part of what contributed to my block, for lack of a better term. I had really, really good sales for me in March and April. I made over $50 in both of those months. Yeah, I'm not exactly going to be making a living off of that anytime soon, but considering I spend no money at all whatsoever on marketing, I'm not really trying to market my stuff very well. I mean, considering who I am and where I'm at in my career and where my business plan goals are, those were really good months. And I think part of me was scared by that. As dumb as it is, that $50 represented 5 times my best month before the start of the year. And it kind of got in my head as something that I would have to be better to keep replicating, to keep doing more and do better with every subsequent work. And I'm not saying that's the entire cause of my block, but I think it was a big part of it. Because in May, my sales dropped off to next to nothing. I only made $17 in May, unless I get a ton of sales in the net today and tomorrow. And all of a sudden the writing became easier. And I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to think that I can only do work when I'm suffering. But I have to admit, when I was younger, there was a time when I thought the only way I am ever going to be able to create art is when I'm depressed. That's a really shitty way to live a life, you know? So I need to get over myself. I need to just get the work out there and get done. And my business plan is to complete 10 books before I ever really start pushing through on anything. And I'm only halfway there, so I need to not worry about sales at all, which is why I've come up with my plan that I'm going to call the F*** It Guide to Writing. Now, I know that it's a trap to check your sales. I know it's a trap to do a lot of the stuff that we find ourselves compelled to do, these measures of success that don't really mean anything. And my goals, my personal goals, aren't necessarily tied to what I'm making as a writer right now. One of my goals is to be a full-time writer, but it's a 5-year plan, and I'm only in the second year of that plan. So I need to stop trying to rush things and do things and worry about marketing and all of that crap. All of that can come later. Right now, what I need to be doing is writing and building a backlist so that the next time I go, say, 5 months without getting anything done, I'm not dead in the water as I am right now. My new plan, my F*** It Guide to Writing, is going to be to say, F*** it, I'm just going to write. I'm not going to look at sales anymore. I'm not going to look at sales rank. I'm going to ignore all of that crap. All of it is just gone from my head. I'm going to sit at my computer every day and write. And when it's done, I'll put it out and start on the next thing. I'm also not going to let myself worry about things like reviews anymore, because I become obsessed with this sort of stuff. I become stagnant in my creative process because I'm too busy worrying about all of the business minutia. And maybe what that really means is that I am the type of person who should be traditionally published, or should be pursuing traditional publishing, because I'm not necessarily the business guy, and I like that stuff and I understand that stuff, but I'm not good at the follow through. I think emotionally I'm not stable enough to handle that stuff. So that's where I'm at, what I'm doing, what I'm thinking right now. I've also kind of decided that I'm going to do something a little crazy, something you guys might not think I'm necessarily suited for, but I'm really looking forward to it. I actually ordered some equipment to do it. I use a Blue Snowball microphone, and I got a shock mount and a swingy arm and a actual pop screen that's not just a sock over the top of my microphone. And I'm going to sit down and take book 1 of the Seven Keys saga and turn it into a script that I can do as a audiobook. I really, really enjoy audiobooks, and I would love to be able to have a professionally narrated version of the Seven Keys saga, but I can't afford to hire someone, and the sales on that series are not good enough for me to be able to come up with a royalty split. So, like everything else in my life, I look at the problem and I find a solution. I can't afford to hire someone else to do it. I want it done, so I'll learn how to do it. I have some experience reading prose. When I was in high school, I competed actually in prose interpretation for the National Forensics League, which is basically audiobook narration performed live, and I'm going to treat it that way. And if it's good, awesome. That's great. And if it's just mediocre, then that's okay too, because I just kind of want to do it and experiment with it and have fun with it. And if it really, really sucks, then I will tell you guys it sucked and you'll never get to hear it. But I'm going to try it. I'm going to see what I can do. I'm going to see if I can have fun with it. I'm going to see if I can make something cool with it, do it a little differently. I'm not just going to take the book and put it in front of myself and read it. I'm actually thinking I'm going to take the time to format it into a script and do it that way, because I think it will be fun to do it. I'm not worried about it being this big, like, I'm not worried about it being this huge, successful product that I can put out there that will make me millions of dollars. I'm just going to do it because it sounds fun. And if it is good, I'll play some pieces of it on here on this show so you guys can get a little sample preview of it and maybe go and get the audiobook. If it is really good, if I turn out to have a talent for it, if I turn out to be really good at it, I might try putting it up on ACX as author narrated and seeing if I can sell it. But once it's done, I will be recruiting beta listeners to give me some feedback on whether or not they think it's a good audiobook. So that's my plan for the summer. I'm actually going to take a little hiatus. Now that 7 Keys 5 is done, I'm going to be taking a hiatus from writing in the 7 Keys saga. Probably a few months, maybe even for the rest of this year. I've got some other projects that I kind of really want to get around to, and book 5 will end out what I'm calling currently the Springfield Chronicle. That's a working title. I'm trying to come up with a really good title for the first 5 books together so I can put them together as a box set, but that story arc has ended, and so I feel like it's a good place for me to take a break and step back from that and work on some other things. I really want to write a romance, so that is one of the goals on my list of things to write this year is a romance story. Even if I don't do a good job at it, I want to nail one, I want to tackle it, and get it put out there into the world like that. I have a couple of other projects that are still kind of percolating. I'm in that place where you just finished one project and you're still kind of working on it. Like I'm reading it now and making some minor changes and adding in some things for later down, that I'm in that place, but I haven't quite latched on mentally to the next project yet. It's still all bubbling up inside the brain. So when I do, I will let you guys know. I promise that I'm going to try to do better. Patrick Stemp from the To Be Read podcast, which you guys, if you're not listening to, you should. Those guys are great. They talk about books. They love books. They're very in-depth, and they're just a good, fun podcast to listen to and learn about the reader side of stuff. But he emailed me and said, hey, why aren't you doing the podcast? So I'm back. Yay! After 6 weeks. I'm also going to be having a guest coming up sometime in the not too distant future. I'm still working out exactly when we'll be recording, but I'm hoping to be able to interview author Percival Constantine and get some of his take on the approach to indie writing and publishing and his experience, his journey. That is something you should be looking forward to. I'm hoping to have that coming out to you in the next couple of weeks. And I am really, really going to try to stick to my schedule of updating the podcast at least once a week. I actually bought a little handheld recorder with a lapel mic that I can keep in my car and record maybe while I'm driving home from work, like I have done before. I've done that once before on here, and if you guys liked that, let me know, and I will do that more. I do record random thoughts into that all the time, so there's actually a lot of stuff to be mined there. If you think that was horrible and you never ever want to hear that again, also let me know and I won't do it. I might take some of that information that I've compressed onto that recorder and do something else a little different with it. Make it available, but not necessarily part of the podcast stream. Right now, I want to do what is fun and what I feel like gives me a sense of accomplishment and lets me create something in the world. So that's where I'm at. If you have any suggestions or ideas, just get in touch with me. Contact at newwriterpodcast.com or check out mabrotherton.com for my fiction, and there's a contact form there also. You can get in touch with me that way. I really hope to hear from some of you. I hope you guys are having a great week, and I'll see you again. Oh, and I really enjoy the thing where I wait for 15 to 30 seconds and then say something else afterwards, so you can look forward to that coming back again soon. See you guys later. Bye.